I invited people, but no, I don't know. Nobody shows up. Everybody's cranky at
Boy, there was a lot of turmoil in the league all of a
it-
sudden.
yeah,
I didn't follow any of it, so I have no
yeah,
idea what that was all about.
yeah, I ain't got time for all that. I really don't.
I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. I don't have time for it either, but I usually will throw a hand grenade in every once in a while. Um, so I have been doing an interesting study that's mimicking your study,
Uh-huh.
but it's not just going to discover or confirm that there is no such thing as a third year breakout, but I think it's going to be very interesting. What I've done is I'm going back in time, and any wide receiver, well, any player, it's going to be for every position, but I'm starting wide receivers. Every position, or every player, I should say, at the position that has had was on the roster like at 10 games. Didn't need to be starting 10 games, didn't need to be 10 full games. Was on the roster for 10 or more games in any season back through 2020.
Hmm.
I'm going to rate their MVP every year that they were in the league.
Hmm.
So obviously, if it's a guy like Larry Fitzgerald who had just retired, that'll study will go right back to his rookie year, as far back as I can do the data. So,
Hmm.
but I've got all my players down here for the study. It's 302 wide receivers,
Nice.
and I've got all 62 of them that qualified for my weekly rankings. That's how I started this. And I was like, I got to throw everybody into the mix. So I started adding and adding and adding. And now so I have 302 wide receivers. I don't know how many at other positions, but I'm going
Right.
to use the same standard. If they played 10 games, I don't care how many, reps they got. If they played 10 or more games, I'm figuring I'm catching everybody who had any kind of significance, even if they weren't a significant fantasy football player. Um, but anyway, showing some interesting things already that I think is going to help me with the handicapping of how do you predict one year to the next,
Mhm.
and it's the interesting thing is there's some players that have a high week or a high year and then they followed up with a bad year. It's just a pattern that I've noticed. After a career year, there's a huge drop, and I don't understand that. If it is it players getting complacent? Is it just the league catching up with the player? I don't know, but everybody who has a career year has a drop off, um, and many of them have a significant drop off. And guys like AJ Brown, who are having a big drop off this year, he had his best career year last year in MVP index with a 133, and now he's repeating his pattern, which was his second year. He was a 114. He dropped all the way to a 67 the next year, and there was no injury, like no injury involved. He just had a bad year, and then bounced back with 100, 106, then 133. But now he's on pace for being in the 60s again. So it's very interesting. I don't know if I will be able to make any definitive guesses on stuff, but having more data helps me with the handicapping. And
Right.
then I'm going to go back for the more significant players, and I'm going to look at um, how would their best 6 games would that have been predictive of the following year for a rookie?
Hmm.
And so we're a lot of interesting studies, but it's kind of fun when you get into such a good routine with your regular stuff that you got time to do studies in the middle of the season. So that's pretty
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. I've got some data. Feel like I got to be quiet because I kind of getting. I hear a weird sound here. So this is wide receivers, and we've seen this. but I've got running backs. So I was just going to kind of remind us what we were seeing uh, in the data. Boy,
What is it? What position is this again?
wide receivers.
This is wide receivers. Okay.
Mhm. And we had talked about this before, and I plotted a scaled fantasy points per game versus, first year's rookie on through. And you see this kind of pattern, a peak at 7 and then another peak at 10 and drop. And what's going on is the number of players is going down at the same time. So you're again, who's left if they're, in the league after 10 years, they must be doing something. So this is that survivorship concept that, you can track, you can look, and this is the scaled, like I said, I was just tracking and we were looking at the grand average for wide receivers is 6 fantasy points per game. This is not selecting how many games, I mean, just everybody, right?
Right.
Uh, 5,100 uh, players from 2000 to 2024. But if you take this and divide by the counts, you get a ratio here, and you can see the 60 that were around after 14 years, their ratio of, even though it wasn't the top average, the average was at 9 uh, or 10. But if you divide by the number of people that were left, it's that just telling you that who's around is pretty damn good after that length of time. And that's probably no surprise. There's a lot of rookies that just don't pan out. And
Yeah.
so you can see that. So again, I this distance from rookie to year 2 is greater than a bunch of the other I mean, that looks like the biggest, if you can see the two triangles and you can look at the difference, this is 1 to about minus a half. So this is 1.4. So it's almost, 3 times this distance. It's hard to see from this. So again, this 3rd year breakout, you would expect this number to be higher, if it's significant, and you don't see that versus 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 7, and then a drop and probably even a plateau. And then by year 10, who's left is, they're pretty good. Then they kind of settle. So really it's, if you look at that, other than year 10, about year 7, and if I'm a dynasty player, you just got to figure out who has a chance of being here to end, and are they cheap enough that you can grab them before people, well, they're getting old, time to get rid of them, and you might get some more life out of them. This would suggest that's highly possible. So this is maybe more for dynasty, but it's good for us. In other words, don't be scared of just age. I think consistency and other metrics, I'm measuring that. I'm just measuring age versus fantasy points, per game, and not really uh, saying much other than that. So it's a metric, and it can be tricky, But this is where it's at. This is the data is the data. I can't make it not the data.
What
And
what I would what I would be interesting to see
mhm.
is I would be interested to look at
How about let's
another
look at running back
well well
versus wide receiver.
here's what I would like to look at on each position as a
Yep.
secondary, a second follow-up piece of data.
Uh-huh.
The question that I would have is if you limit this graph to the top 40 or top 50 point getters for any given season.
You mean this, the rank sector, the top 25% at the end of the
Correct.
year?
Correct.
Yeah,
How
I
does
got
that,
that.
yeah, does that look different for the chart
Yeah,
is the big question
it
that I have.
does. It
And
does.
that and I would think it would
It,
because
it does.
I think
It's
what we're
pretty steady
yep.
until about year 10, then you see a drop off.
Yeah, and what I think what we're seeing with the other chart is we're seeing that there are two uses for young wide receivers. Okay, the elite ones go right into the starting lineup and
Yeah.
they're producing points from the beginning. Your fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round draft picks
Yeah.
are usually playing special teams.
Mhm.
They're fast, so they're the big gunner on the punt team, or they're returning kicks. They don't even get a shot really unless there's mega injuries to the starting wide receiver core. And I think that's why we see the step up like this. What we then see is there is a point in time where those guys are no longer as useful because they're too expensive. Like you get past the first 3 years with a
Mhm.
rookie contract.
Mhm.
Now it gets a little more expensive to re-sign that guy.
Mhm.
And I think the tendency is to just grab rookies to do that job or first 3 year players because they're
Mhm.
cheap. And the guys that survive, past year 4 are the guys that are being counted on for production. And then so that graph, leveling off, it's sort of plateauing at 7, 8, 9, then actually having a jump up for the elite guys, the survivorship, that becomes a third contract guy. So, first 5 years, then maybe 3 or 4 years on the second contract, and then, year 9, 10, 11, that's another contract. And then they're done, So this is very interesting to
And
see.
and
And
what you're seeing here is running backs with the blue circle, wide
oh,
receiver.
yeah. Yep.
Okay, so now what I noticed is a couple things. First, the jump is also the largest between rookie and year two.
That
There
makes
is
sense.
no
Yep.
year three
Nope.
running back breakout. You can see how small it is. Second issue is why running backs at rookie are superior to wide receiver rookie in year two. They catch up in
Interesting.
year three.
And then wide
Okay,
receivers go ahead.
four starting to break, and by year five and continuing, Dennis, they are outperforming the experienced running backs. They're leveling off at about six and then dropping by nine. And so you're getting this survivor. But look at year 10. Look at the way
Yeah.
different here.
Yeah.
And again, I haven't tracked passing pass catchers, but one might want to note they're probably earning their stay by doing that. I mean, I just hadn't done that work yet. But just for us, so the value of the first and second year RB. I understand people go for wide receivers. So you have two ways to look at it.
Yeah.
If I get a good wide receiver, man, they're out long time and still really kicking butt. But if I get a rookie running back instead, I'm probably going to have to trade them out or churn after 4 or 5, maybe 6 years. You might get some of that first contract right in there. So I don't know in your diary, you probably need to, and it can be a combination, right? If you're good, you can grab one of these and one of those,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
but you just need to know that they are, fifth year, it's starting to favor wide receivers for this survivor, this longevity, and really favors late, whereas it's getting really lean for running backs, that there is an issue here. So this data is showing and it's not like, oh, everybody knows running backs. Yeah. And again, I'll just check the pass catchers, but I wasn't necessarily predicting that running backs would be a little bit ahead of the curve in year 1 and 2, and then catch up years 4, 3, 4, and by 5, 6, they're breaking, and by year 7, probably 9, 10, they're really far ahead at that point. So it's kind of almost a roadmap of your dynasty team, just kind of these. And so people, just by arbitrarily having an age, Dennis, for every, I think I would judge by the position.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And
It,
so, yeah, go ahead.
so this leans right into it. This explains why I've had a great deal of success with my strategy
Hmm.
in Dynasty because like early to mid first round,
Hmm.
I'm usually shopping for the best wide receiver coming out of the draft. Okay.
Hmm.
And I don't look at need. So I'm looking at best player available. And usually that's a wide receiver that, looks like the sure bet. Second, third rounds, I'm leaning into the running back group and I'm throwing a lot of chances out there with the running backs. And then the other thing that this is showing is that my strategy when it comes to an upstart is right on the money. I don't draft running backs that are over 25, 26, but I lean into as many wide receivers in that 26 to 30 age group because if they're rating strong with my MVP index going into that draft, they are one of those survivors and they're lasting quite a long time.
Right.
And I had a upstart or a startup draft this year where I couldn't believe the guys that were falling to me. And I was able to build a really strong nucleus of wide receivers without, without taking chances on rookies. I mean, I had all guys that were veterans. So it really made it easy. And now all this explains why that strategy is probably pretty sound. Um,
So I have this data. And so what I did was I looked at the complete populations with the box and whisker. And I have dashed lines from the top of the top whisker, and you can see the pattern for rookies year 2, year 3. So this idea there's a third year breakout in the best is not true. It's again that year 2 concept. And then you see the top actually breaks at year 4, Dennis. You start to see a decline in the best of the population.
hmm,
Year 5, year 6. but they're kind of plateauing, peaking a little bit year 7 and then continuing down. So you kind of have a resurrection at year 7. So that would be interesting to see who are those people. Is that after the first, second year of the new contract, and then the new hot dogs are coming in? In other words, do they have this window of time, 6, 7, and then okay, the young folks are going to run past them. So again, we're talking the best of the best in the population. And then the bottom of the whisker, so this distance is the top 25% of the top 25%. And you can see that it probably is a lot more steady. But if you look at the best of the best, and so wide receivers are different in the sense that here's this year 2 to year 3, and it's it's plateauing the best of the best. Year 4 is a decline as well. So running backs are declining year 4. Wide receivers decline in year 4. So there's increase, maybe even a little bit if you look at the top of the box there. But the top of the top, once you hit year 2 and you got a top, you're not going to get any better in year 3. In other words, whoever was top in year 2 of the population is not magically going to break out or get better. You're probably lucky to get the same. And then there's this 4-year decline. That is, both positions are showing a 4-year decline, Dennis. And I thought that was interesting. But wide receivers then pop back in year 5, 6, 7. In other words, they pop up and then decline. And running backs really never pop back. I mean, a little bit in year 7, but not. I mean, look at the difference here. Way high. Running backs, you don't see that. So they are different that way. And these are the top of the running backs. So this is some things to think about. I probably should put this out here a little bit. But anyway, there's some more data to this. I'm not showing all of it, but I just thought I would at least continue that search for this 3-year breakout. And I'm really, again, not seeing any kind of 3-year breakout that I could detect. If you look at the top 25%, again, the biggest is year 2 in running backs, and wide receivers, the same thing. Here it is right here. That's a full point per game, year 1 to 2, wide receivers. And running back, it is another about a point and 0.1. And then year 3 is almost nothing. So I'm not seeing any kind of 3rd-year breakout.
No, and
in the population. It doesn't mean they're not.
They're individual
things are going up and down, right? But as an automatic, everybody is going to move up. That's no. You should not bet on that.
The interesting thing is the year 4 tends to be, for running backs, the year that you get them all, they all hold out. Like they all hold out in camp, and then they come out and they don't perform as well. And then, year 5, they magically bounce back. It's just crazy.
And Dennis, another way to look at this, I called it percent top. Here's the best. Year 5 is 100%. Also, year 7 is a
wow.
kind of.
And this is running backs here?
Yeah.
Wow.
So of the top, so look at rookies and then year two. So the distance from the best that the population will be is 11%. And then here it's only what, 2.5% between year one and two. Here's year three, year four drops a little, year five goes back up. So there is a uh, percent. No, I'm sorry, that was running back, wide receivers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, let me go and look, see if I did this top. Yeah. So for wide receivers, it's three. So if you look at the top, it's 7% year one to two, 3% back down, up at year five, tops at year seven, and then starts a climb. So it's a little different in the pattern here. If you
Hmm.
look at it through that eyes, in other words, the best and the top is a little higher with wide receivers, 14.4 versus running backs, 14.1.
I look at this data and I say it's a second year breakout
Yeah,
for both positions. It's you know at
as a
one
population.
as a population.
Yep.
Yeah. It,
So,
at one point, I think the third year wide receiver worked, but I don't think that's happened. I don't think that's been consistent since the
and again,
90s.
maybe with increased passing, the rule change, whatever,
Yes, yes.
it looks like the big step. So if you're going to gamble, it looks like you try to find that rookie that was, within the top 25% of year one of all, and try to pull that guy out and try to, especially if you can get them cheaper, there's your prospects right there, not waiting for year three. In other words, if people are buying year three, they're wasting their money because they're probably playing too high. In other words, they look at year two and they're saying, oh, well, they're going to get better. And this says population really doesn't get better. So you're buying at the wrong time. That's what I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, and I see that in my MVP data already. That
You're buying at the wrong time.
second year is like that's the big jump.
Right.
Is that second year? And there's a couple. I mean, Calvin Ridley was a third year breakout guy, but in essence, he sort of semi broke out in year two. He got up to an 85 on my MVP, and then he jumped to a 121 year three. And people will look at that and go, oh, third year breakout. I'm not sure. He went up 32 points between first and second year. He went up 36 points year two to three. That's pretty unique. That's a pretty even rise. That's
Oh,
not,
yeah.
I don't think that's a third year breakout. CD Lamb was 81, 63, 112. So he did fit that pattern.
Mhm.
But, the bigger data set says no, it ain't there. It's not a thing. So the rules or their players that are a difference, but not, it's just very interesting to see how this data goes and to see how can we utilize this to pick up an advantage. And that's going to be the key.
And
Can
I'm
we?
going to argue that you got to push it to the extreme in the rookie year. Coming out of the rookie year,
Yeah.
that's any kind of whatever opinion, if it's they're going to a new team or whatever, if there's some type of situation that maybe you can buy low on, I mean, use common sense. But if
Well,
they're in,
yeah.
yeah,
One of my favorite things to do in Dynasty is when people are making a trade and this basically only works if they're initiating the trade because it shows they're more eager, they're more hungry. If I
right,
initiate the trade, it doesn't work as well, which it makes sense because if somebody is hungry to get a deal done about a player, it's like if you go into a car dealership and you're too eager, you're walking away with a shittier deal than if you go in there and you don't care if you buy a car or not that
Right.
day. And one of my favorite strategies is to ask for a failed rookie wide receiver.
So
Uh,
I'm going to update this with this year's data, uh, and I'll probably do a poster on it and make
Very
some
cool.
claims. So, I mean, people can see it now this year, and I'll add, but I'm not going to put it up on the site yet. I'll just have it secret stuff. But yeah, there's some other metrics here. But anyway, I thought this was just really interesting. The best running backs in the population, the best rookie, they have a shot in year two at but you'll get the biggest bang here, not year three.
No,
And this year four, I don't know why there's this drop in the population. I need to look at the names and look at
yes.
the first 4 years
Yeah.
of the running backs and wide receivers and just kind of, put instead of just the population, take a look at the names that are in the,
And
start
see if
out.
there were circumstances. Was there an injury? Was there a
I don't
change on the
know. Just
team? Whatever. Yeah.
I don't know if that I don't know. In other words, does that mean that there's some second year wide receivers coming in competing with the year four guys?
Ooh, yeah.
So kind of the new hot dog on, like the Abuka versus Mike
Yeah.
Evans. You're
And that,
seeing
yeah.
that.
And that makes a lot of sense because
Yeah.
if you are entering the final year of your contract or even the last 2 years of
I
your
mean,
contract,
teams better be having some other people on board to take over.
yes. Yeah. And that's why I've always targeted rookie wide receivers on good passing teams, and I haven't cared who's ahead of them
Yeah.
because if the team is spending high draft capital for that wide receiver, they've got a
Right.
plan for that guy. Like
Yeah.
I never really have understood. I mean, obviously, when they added JSN up in Seattle, they already had two real good fantasy football studs.
Right.
So you knew he was going to struggle, but you knew for dynasty, I never let it bother me who's ahead of who. I
Mhm.
just figure it's all going to work its way out. And case in point, this year with the rookie tight ends in dynasty, I probably took more Colston Loveland than I did Tyler Warren. But in redraft, I took more Tyler Warren because I knew he was going to hit the ground running a lot easier than Loveston would. But as far as who's going to have the better career, I'm not really sure. Maybe Loveland's better than Tyler Warren. I took about three of him to every share of Warren, but went the other way in redraft for this year. I had a
I
better
mean,
feeling
if
about.
something, is when I mark the 20, the uh, the the 20 level here, it looks to me like the breakout for wide receivers could be year five and six. In other words, who earns the contract
Mm-hmm.
year seven? I mean, because if you look at running backs, it's, three, and then they don't come back really. The
No,
survivors might at seven, but it's never higher than two and
no,
three.
no. And go back to that wide receiver one again.
Yeah, here
So
it is.
what we might be seeing here is if a player is re-signed by his team, that's a great sign. But how many of these are being traded in the final year of their contract
Yeah,
into a better
yeah,
situation?
yeah. So we want to monitor
Yeah,
for next
very.
year,
Yeah,
year 4 to 5. Yeah.
yeah. Who are the
And
year four guys? Yeah,
yeah. And then this says we need to be worried about year 3 people going into year 4, the tops. In other words, the best of the best. This would say, you better, there's a few points above the whisker, but pretty rare.
and we're seeing Ken Walker fall off this
Yeah.
year from year 3 to 4.
And
So
well,
it
you're
makes a lot of
seeing, like I
sense.
said, but it looks to me like 4 to 5, you could find you a bargain, maybe even, and here 3 to 4, you're paying too much for the 3 year and you're not going to collect by year 4 and 5. In other words, you're investing here,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
return is here, whereas in wide receivers, you're investing there and you're getting a nice return.
So my 27, 28-year-old wide receiver theory is really pretty good. Like
Yeah.
those guys are right there at that second peak,
Mhm.
that or the higher peak.
Right.
So very interesting.
Yeah, so you and I need to go over, turn off the thingy here. My uh, uh, wife and them, they, oh, what's your wife? Oh, that was Siri. Siri thought I was talking to her. That's funny. Anyway, Dennis, I think there's stuff that we can talk about off season that we need to plan specialized strategies for years for running backs, and I'll do tight ends and quarterbacks. So again, we can look at the populations and maybe find some advantages that in combination with COM and MVP, layered on top of it, we could find some goodies. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the
and I
whole idea.
yeah, and
I mean,
I
yeah,
should
you'll
have
have your stuff.
running backs and wide receivers definitely done
Yeah,
before, and heck, the rate I'm going, um, I'll probably have all 4 positions done. This stuff is addictive, Professor.
yeah,
It's fun looking back at some of these guys because I'll look at a season, I'll go, oh my gosh, I remember that guy. He made me a lot of money that year,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's funny to see these guys. And then there's the ones that you thought were going to be hot shots and they never did anything. And you're
Never
like,
did any.
oh my Lord, this is suffering through this player again.
Well, let
But
me, yeah,
but I
go.
but I the interesting thing is seeing that drop in year 4.
Yeah, I don't, that's very
Like
intriguing.
I I don't understand it from a standpoint, except for are these guys holding out? Are they just
Well,
are
but
they
it
not
was in
as
running backs as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
And that's what surprised me. I
yeah,
didn't predict I would see that. In other words, I would have predicted they would have increased
yeah,
because you're
yeah,
fighting for that next contract. I
yeah.
would not have predicted dropping down
No,
for running backs.
you always hear that contract year. Oh, he's doing
Yeah, is
great. It's a
that real?
contract year. I don't think it
I'm
is. Maybe it's
I'm
not.
I'm concerned that as a population, in other words, and you know as well as I that people when they flip stats out, you could be tricked. Oh, well, that means all of them. No,
Yes, yes.
no, not at all. So I think it's not simple. I understand it sounds simple on the radio. It's something that you can, flip out quickly. It's
Yeah,
fingertip knowledge. Yeah, third year
yeah,
breakout. Bam.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What again, nobody's defining what that is. I've got data that we can
Yes.
define a second year breakout as
Yeah, and
far as average. We
that's
can
the
define it at different levels
yeah,
depending on probably the rookie year and where they were at and what they increased. Yeah, we could define it by a increase in fantasy point per game production.
yeah.
We could give you for the population.
This is fascinating stuff because
Yeah,
I think there's so much potential here for being able to uncover some secrets. Maybe, maybe go as far as, hey, this is a fourth year guy.
yeah.
Unless we're getting him at a certain ADP discount, you know, I'm not drafting this guy in the first round. I know what the data
Well,
says,
on your
that
cheat
kind of thing.
sheet, you would definitely want to star those
Oh
individuals. I mean,
yeah.
on your
Yeah.
secret notes,
Yep. Yep.
I know we had that secret code that we draft at draft night out, you
That
know.
was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Speaking of which, my draft night out team is starting to round into form.
Yeah, that's
I
good. I'm
yeah.
3-3, Dennis. I've Brock Bowers has kicked my
Oh,
butt.
that's a
Bijan
painful one.
Robinson
Yeah.
saved it. So
Yes. Yep.
I'm and Rice is coming back for me. So I'm
Yes.
hoping that will, I'll start seeing an uptick. I've had Lamar Jackson on the team,
Yes.
and that's been cutting me. So
Yeah.
I've been one step up with Rice and Bijan, and step down with Jackson and Bowers. So
Yeah.
it's that's about makes it even, and that's my record, 3-3.
Yeah.
If I hadn't
Yeah.
had that, imagine you know Bowers playing and Jackson playing the whole time. I'd probably be having a better shot at being 4-2 or 5-1. And you know, what can you do? It's you can't predict that beforehand.
No,
So
and I think I did a good job of managing this team through a lull at the beginning.
mhm.
My rookie running backs, I was a little too aggressive, and my top guys, Chase Brown and Pacheco, have just not been good. So I didn't hit it running back, but my wide receiver core now, heading
Mhm.
into week 7, Jamar Chase, Rashi Rice, Chris Olave, and Quentin Johnson.
That is kick butt.
And I got Romeo Dobbs in on the bench.
Yeah,
So
my
he's my
my
fifth guy.
team is Dart since Jackson's
Yep.
out.
I picked up Stafford when
Bijan,
I lost Lamar.
ETN, Rice, Olave, Pacheco, Tez Johnson. I just picked up.
Yep, that's a good pickup for a couple
Yeah,
weeks.
so and I got, like I said, Tongas is my tight end. I'm hoping Kittle doesn't come back this week, but
I've been protecting myself
of
everywhere I
course
have
Godwin
Tongas.
was out, and
Yes.
Ayuk is a little slower than I was thinking, and you know, Kendre Miller, I'm ready if there's a trade. Tootin, I'm ready for Jacksonville. In case ETN falls, I've got the next guy up. So I just, like I said, my problem is Bowers and Jackson. That's what's, you know, I'm, I'm eighth in the league at 3-3.
Yeah,
So,
and I'm sixth in points. I'm only 2-4, but I'm sixth in points. So
uh,
I think, adding Rice now, and when we get Lamar back, both of our teams will be better. I grabbed Stafford as my backup.
yeah.
And then last week, I, because of the weather, I grabbed Darnold and played Darnold
I
over
am
Stafford.
debating picking up Aaron Rodgers versus Dart this week. Dart. can run at any point. That's the
Yes.
only problem. The top guy is Rodgers and then Flacco, and that just didn't inspire me.
Yeah, and the Giants are facing that Denver defense at Denver.
Yeah,
So I would be worried about that start. Um, and Rodgers going up against Cincinnati. We'll talk about that game
yeah,
on the regular show. I don't know. That game is screaming to me upset for Cincinnati. And that's the only Cincinnati's defense actually played better last week.
yeah. They
They
did, didn't
they
they?
put a pass rush on. And if they put a pass rush on against Rodgers, I'm not so sure that works out as well as, because Love was able to get away from that pass rush last week and make some plays. It- boy, this is a tough game, Professor.
Yeah,
I think we're getting at that time of the year where we're going to start to see some surprises. And that's one that, you know, usually when you got a 5.5 point road favorite, that's a pretty solid game. But boy, it's tough. It's hard managing your way through a major injury to your quarterback in a one quarterback league.
yeah,
Uh, I actually been doing better where I lost a quarterback in Superflex or didn't do as well with my quarterback, you know, predictions because I had a couple of teams where I went cheap at quarterback and it didn't work out. I grabbed both Cam Ward and Anthony Richardson, figuring one of them would be good. Neither of them has
yeah,
been good. So
yeah.
that kind of hurt some of my super flex redrafts. But um, over on FPPC, I'm doing better. My quarterback selections in super flex ended up being a hell of a lot better. I didn't get cute, and I did well. But the ones where I tried to get super cheap, ah, didn't work. Didn't work this year. So, but I did, the idea. I was doing these 6 leagues on Sleeper,
Right.
six Superflex redraft leagues, and I, I I tried to alter after the first two. I ended up with the same two quarterbacks. My lead quarterbacks were Daniels and Mahomes.
Right.
I got Mahomes as my second quarterback in both drafts. It was insane. I got him in the second round as my second quarterback. I mean, he was the 14th quarterback off the board in one of the leagues. I was like, this is insane. I was debating whether to take him with my with the fifth pick in the first round. And
Right.
instead I took Daniels and then I got Mahomes coming back to me and there were 14 quarterbacks he was the 14th quarterback off the board. How could you let him go past the 10th guy is beyond me.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, it's been interesting, but I'm looking forward to that draft night out team. I knew I was taking a chance by adding Rice. And I tried, that was the only league in anything that I drafted this year, dynasty or redraft, where Travis Hunter. I dropped Travis Hunter to pick up Darnold last week.
Wow.
That's how bad it was. But I mean, he fell to the 10th round, and I was like, I can't let this guy fall to the 10th. What if he is the second coming, of Jamar Chase? What if he's going to be a great wide receiver right out of the backs? I can't let him go past 10. And,
Right.
that was, and Igbuka was gone. All the guys that I really liked were gone. And I was like, I'll take one chance here. And that's the key is, my other picks that were late worked. Quentin Johnson was like a 14th round pick and has worked out great. So, it's you got to take the dart throws. If you get late in the draft, why take ordinary? You got to go
I
for
if I had to change anything, I think I should rely on my tight end skills because I have been doing well in streaming and
yes,
finding
yes.
and I should have
Well, you
avoided the Bowers. I was a little too, well, getting Jackson just started out. It was
yes.
just, Bijan was right. And I should have, it just I got it all. That cost me another stud wide receiver.
Yeah, and I did the same thing, which is ironic because both of us were talking late quarterback was going to be the way we
Yeah, and
went,
I should have done,
and we
because
both got him.
Dak and
Yeah.
Love has been great for me. I picked up in
Yes.
May in a few leagues. That's been fine.
Yep.
And boy, and Josh Allen, I picked up Love. And
Yep.
so,
My strategy for my FPPC redrafts,
mm,
not for one quarterback,
mhm,
was to avoid the top guys. Like when I
mhm,
got to Mahomes, that was my decision.
yeah.
And
And he's been kicking butt.
but I've got a variety of Mahomes, Baker. I got a lot of Baker and Love teams again, or Baker and Dak, or Dak and Love.
Yeah.
Those ended up being my picks because I said I'm going to take two real quick back to back, and I got them both cheap. And now I play the matchups, and I so far I haven't missed a single matchup decision with those guys. I've been perfect so far.
Yeah.
Where and yeah, there were a couple of times where maybe one guy beat the other guy by 0.2 or something. I only give it credit if it's 3 points or more.
Yeah.
If it's 3 points or more and I picked in the right direction, that's a hit. If it's even, I don't get credit for that one. You if it's half a point more, I don't get credit for that. It's that's the way I grade myself, and it's worked out pretty good. I haven't blown a pick yet on the quarterbacks. Um, so I think we've got a good knack at doing that. So next year in draft night out, if I say I'm drafting a quarterback before the seventh round, just kick
Just
me under
knock
the
in.
table,
I'll
please.
hit
Just
you with
kick
some
me.
cheese fries.
Yeah, just throw something at me. Don't let me make that mistake. But I mean, I think, Lamar comes back and he shines. He's probably going to lead us both to a championship. So
I hope so. I hope so. Okay, shall we start the show?
let's crank it up. Here we go. Hope you enjoyed the pre-show, everybody. That was just
Yeah.
the pre-show. If that was so spectacular in the pre-show, you can't wait for the real thing.
Oh
Here we
yeah.
go.
Okay.
Now we have a lot to live up to. How you doing, everybody? This is Dennis Michelson. Welcome to the Science of Fantasy Football. Why the Science of Fantasy Football? You get a meteorologist and a biologist together. They're going to apply the scientific method to the world of fantasy football. What does that mean? You hear me say it every week. Well, you also hear me give an explanation, so you should know it by now. But if you're tuning in for the first time, here on the Science of Fantasy Football or at the Sports Affiliation. Using the scientific method just means we're going to use statistics in a smarter way. What does that mean? Well, it means we're going to let the statistics guide us to an answer. We're not going to cherry pick those statistics to find support for an idea we already have. And joining me as he does each and every week, 3 times a week between the different podcasts now, during the regular season. He is the fantasy professor. He's a real professor, emeritus. And that emeritus thing, I think, John, doesn't that mean that you just survived for a very, very long time dealing with cranky
Yeah,
students?
yeah, I don't know. I've actually, Dennis, I've never finished the paperwork. I started it and I just like, there's no money. I'm tired and old, so I'm in my head, I'm an emeritus, but it's a goofy, you got to construct your own resolution to the board of trustees. Yeah, you know, it, Dennis, there's no money in my pocket, but if my department or university needs me, then, I can help. But so far, nobody loves me anymore, so that's fine. So that's fine.
Oh, that works just fine. I like not being in too much demand at my work
Yeah.
anymore. That's a good thing. Well, I do have a gripe of the
Oh, I
week
knew
for
you
you,
had
soft drag.
gripes. I was just, with all the Kansas City flimflammery, you know, I knew there were things
Oh,
to talk about.
my gripe has nothing to do
Yeah, but
with the with
there were
there
some
there was
good
fun.
quotes.
Oh, I'm loving every minute of it.
Yeah,
You know how much I love that.
they were all stirred up. So
I still for the life of me, I guess the theory would be because you know how you take like a few facts and you have to weave it into the master conspiracy theory of all time.
yeah,
So I think here it is. Okay. I think Roger Goodell really likes Kansas City barbecue. Okay.
yeah, I
So
think so too.
he's like, I want to spend a lot more time in Kansas City. I want to have great barbecue. It's the best. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe he's addicted to those burnt ends. I don't know if you've ever had
Oh,
burnt ends
there's
from a barbecue place.
some teams that want to burn his in.
Oh man, great burnt ends in Kansas City barbecue. You go to any good Kansas City barbecue place, and
Yeah.
they put the burnt ends out there for you to nibble on before your food
Now,
gets here.
yeah, you have to buy them here, and they run
Yeah.
out. So the
Oh,
burn-ins here at our barbecue is, uh, see if they're available
there you go. Yeah, I just
because
you know
they'll sell out.
people are just getting cheap. They're trying to make money off of everything nowadays. I mean, you
Yeah,
should get burnt ends for free, just like when you go to Rip's Tavern for chicken in Ladd, Illinois, you
yeah,
get the crusty things that fell off the chicken. You know,
yeah,
like when they cook the chicken and they go to
yeah.
put it on the plate, there's
Crusty
those little
bits. Yeah.
crispies. Yeah, they give you a plate of those
Well,
and
everybody wants some of those.
pickles and crispy bits while you're waiting for your food. I mean, those are the things that when I become king, that's the things they're going to demand. But getting back to my speculation, so Goodell loves the burnt ends, loves the barbecue in Kansas City, so he arranged for the greatest pop star in the history of pop stardom
Pop stardom.
to
Yeah.
to start a relationship with the greatest tight end of all tight ends of all tight
Yeah.
endery. And that that has kind of led to him then having to fix the games to make sure that I can't even continue. It's so absurd. But anyway, getting back to my gripe of the
What
week.
is your gripe?
So my gripe of the week is, and this happens every year at this time, how many on fantasy football Twitter or fantasy football X, if you're one of the cool kids in the class that uses that terminology, how many trade speculations have you seen, especially the ones that are say stuff like Brees Hall to Kansas City for a second round pick and Tyquan Thornton? Who says no to that? Right? Everybody says no. There will be 4,000 speculated trades of major players, AJ Brown to the Patriots, and like there'll be so many speculated big trades. This is not baseball. We don't see big trades at the trade deadline. What we see are these old veteran players that maybe have a year or two left. Like last year, the Chiefs needing a wide receiver, they got, DeAndre Hopkins for next to nothing. You see these minor deals. I can't remember the last time we had a major player traded before the trade deadline in the NFL. I can't remember it. If you got one, folks, let me know, because I see every year I see speculation of all these major trades, and I see nothing. So my gripe is all of these speculative trades on Twitter. Just stop already. just stop already. We might see one big trade. We'll see minor trades like what we've already seen with the Ravens, swapping a lineman for a defensive back. We'll see a few linebackers get traded. We'll see a few edge rushers get traded. We are not going to see a top 40 wide receiver, a top 20 running back traded. I don't think it's going to happen. I'll eat my words. If it happens, I'll be the first to say I was wrong, but stop already with the nonstop trade speculation. It is not Major League Baseball. This does not happen. ESPN will have a big special on the trade deadline day, and there'll be some linemen swapped or some defensive guys swapped. We won't see Breece Hall swapped. I don't think we're going to see Kamara dealt. Those are the obvious guys. They're at the end of their contracts. But teams don't want to overpay because it'll probably take a couple weeks to get these guys familiar with the new offense.
Right.
You don't have time to do that in the middle of a playoff run. So stop with the endless trade speculations. The trades don't really work out that often in the NFL.
Okay. That sounds good. I was hoping for more.
I feel cleansed, by the way. I feel.
Good.
Oh, and your Kendra Miller shares, by the way.
Yeah.
Kamara just went on the questionable list.
Well,
So, I think those Kendra Miller shares are going to pay off this year. I really
hope
do.
so, but
I really do.
I've been stubbornly holding them. And it's just holding them, and it's like this big dead slot that I've just, it's just a burden I got to carry through the season. That and my Ray Davis shares, those are probably my two, uh, you know, besides Woody Marks, he needs to wake up.
Well,
Dennis, I want to chastise myself.
uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Yeah. So,
Is this similar to last week, me getting on myself for not having bought more Kamani Vidal when I said you could get him for $1 the week before you needed him to pay $300-400 to get him?
it is actually about Vidal,
Oh, okay.
but it's a different topic, but you'll appreciate this. So 2 weeks ago, I put about in your article, you suggested about 300, so I put about
Yes.
$333. And I was just like, I'll probably get maybe half or less. Dennis, I got them everywhere. In fact, there was a
Yeah,
couple that were
yeah.
left. And then I realized the gripe that I was so far ahead because of your advice, your article, and just, when you declare it, I know it's a good chance it's real. And you said, he's over Haskins. So I went all in. What I didn't think about, Dennis, and it cost me fab money, is I assumed everybody else was clued in as well. And that was a poor assumption. I could have probably got him as I looked at the bids for probably $100
Yes.
or even
Yep.
less.
No,
So I spent
yep.
too much money because I was a little greedy and I just assumed that everybody saw the same thing. It's like, I'm stopping at the cliff and I'm like, and then everybody's keeping going. It's like, oh, I thought everybody saw this. I made the assumption that everybody was clued in. And so my fab bid was too much.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I'll tell you why. Okay.
Okay, rescue me.
I'm going to rescue. I'm going to make you feel really good about this. One of the reasons
Okay.
that I said 300, like go all in, go. That's a third of our money, basically. That's 30% of
Dennis,
our
I
fab
know.
budget.
It was crazy.
But the reason I said that is
Yeah.
because of the time of the season this is. because from here
Okay.
to the end of the season now,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see any of this more goody stuff come along. And one
Yeah.
of the reasons that this worked out so well is because Najee Harris went out
Yeah.
before Hampton went out.
Yeah.
See, if Harris is healthy, if Harris is just not getting as many carries,
Yeah.
and then Hampton goes down, then it's a Vidal Harris split and nobody wins.
Right.
Okay. And I did go back. So I've got the benefit of, I do the leagues that run all of their waivers on Tuesday night. And then I've got FPPC that runs Wednesday night, right?
Right.
So I got a chance to see what the consensus is. And yes, they're two different settings. One's over on Sleeper, one's FPPC. I think the FPPC people are a little bit sharper. But when I saw that I was bidding, comparable amount, I was bidding 20% of my fab.
Right.
And I could have gotten him for 5%
Yes.
in most leagues.
Yeah.
I looked at that. I said, okay, I can drop this bid a little bit. If I've already gone whole hog, if I'm already down to 500 in my fab,
Right.
I'm going to lower that bid by half to like 151 instead of 303. 303 was the bid I put in for everybody.
I put 333.
Yeah.
You know why? Because it's just quicker.
There you go. There you go. So I changed those bids. I didn't lose a single share.
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
That fab money,
Yeah.
use it, because
I know.
I'd rather have him on my roster.
I need to still, that needs to be part of my equation. Dennis, by the way,
Professor, I'm absolutely stunned that people were so in on Haskins because he's never done anything.
Yeah.
He's been around for 6 years basically, and he's never accomplished anything when he was given a chance. Haskins is a good football player to have on the team because he does the grunt work that a coach loves.
I'm going to share something with you.
But he's not the guy that's going to ever carry the load.
So I did pretty good on my Fidel.
Ooh, love it.
85%
Oof.
of my leagues, 35.
I love that. I love that.
Dennis, that's crazy.
Well, and here's the thing.
Costs me money though.
Yeah.
That just
but here's the thing, Professor.
Yeah.
You are set for a good situation now going forward. So don't worry about that fab money, because I don't think there's going to be a player that is going to pop up. When was the last time you saw me in these articles that I've been doing every week, say $300 on a player?
I can't remember.
Most of my high bids are more around 150-ish.
Yeah.
And this was the perfect scenario because you had to beat out Haskins. That's all you had to beat out. They weren't bringing anybody else.
I got 2 or 3 shares. And in fact, I have 3 shares, and all 3 of those are where I have Vidal. So it's a handcuff.
Yeah.
So I actually got both of them.
And that's not a bad move, because I think what you're going
to
see.
Yeah, but I got Haskins real cheap.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. So I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of Haskins dropped. If I see him dropped, and this is perfect, because I want to talk a little bit about waiver strategy today. So here's the mistake I see. I actually had a good conversation with Reedy about waivers, Mike Reedy. Yes, in my opinion, one of the smartest people in fantasy football, and I say that because he sees past the surface of strategies, whether it's his adaptive draft strategy before the season, his charting volume and chasing volume, not points, during the season. His waiver strategy is fantastic. And we were talking about this because I've seen it in action in leagues that I played against him. he's the most active player other than me when it comes to secondary waivers. And you go, what the hell is secondary waivers? Secondary waivers. So when our waivers run for FPPC,
Yep.
okay, Thursday morning, I look at every team and I look at the FAB report. And when most people look at the FAB report, they want to know, okay, how much did I overpay or how much did I get outbid by? What I look for, Professor, is the player that got dropped. Because sometimes those players that get dropped are the guys that I want. For instance, I saw DJ Giddens get dropped in a few leagues last week when people were picking up Haskins.
Right.
And I had Jonathan Taylor on the team.
Oh, yeah.
Now I have Giddens on the team to back him up. And I was willing to part with Taj Brooks to make room for Giddens because that position is not as valuable as it was when Burrow was on the team. So if Burrow was on the team, Chase Brown's producing and Taj Brooks is as valuable as Giddens as the next man up. But no, that position doesn't have as much value. So that's secondary waivers. After your waivers pass, look at who gets cut.
Yeah.
There are people, I guarantee it this week, because they're on bye. There are people that are going to drop Ray Davis. And if they drop Ray Davis and I've got an empty spot or I've got space for that, I'm putting him on the roster.
Yeah. I will be collecting Ray Davis myself just for $1.
And yes, and that's the key, is you're picking them up cheap. If it doesn't work out, who cares? Like, he's just an insurance policy. How would you have loved to have had 100% Vidal shares and have gotten him for $1 the week before he became a thing? That's the reason that this next man up concept works, and it works every single year. The next man up is the valuable. If it's a good running back situation, like Green Bay, I want Emmanuel Wilson on as many teams as I can get him, and he's still available. Just like Vidal was available. And there'll be people like me that
in my leagues, because I picked him up in about 9 of them, and that's the only place I could find. I'm just waiting for him to drop him.
Yeah, and I'm convinced that it's him and not Brooks now. I really am. And at one point, I thought it might be Brooks. So I grabbed some Brooks shares.
Early Brooks, I was there, and I actually traded Brooks for Emmanuel.
And that's the key, is don't be afraid to change your mind.
When I've been changing out Tajay, given no Burrow. Same thing.
Yeah. And so the strategy that I like to use in waivers, you shop for the secondary waivers. That's always important. But here's the thing, Professor.
Yeah.
At wide receiver and tight end, I'm usually patching a hole for a bye week or an injury situation.
Right.
Okay. So I might pick up an Isaiah Bond and take a shot at him, pick up a Trey Tucker, take a shot at him. Do I catch him on a good week? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I don't need him anymore, as soon as my 4 wide receivers are healthy and they're all past buys, goodbye. Because even if you pan out to be something, you're not in my starting lineup, because I've got 4 or 5 wide receivers ahead of you in the pecking order.
Right.
And it's going to take massive injuries because I've got 4 or 5 running backs that deserve to be in there as well, because I played the next man up game right. I've got the luxury now with so many Vidal shares and so many, and I drafted Scatabo. I didn't have to pick him up on waivers.
I didn't get enough of him.
Yeah, and now you got those guys to plug and play most weeks. and I can afford to sit Kamara
I
or
had
Chase Brown or
Vidal
Ken
and
Walker.
Scatterboo going in 2, 3 leagues. I was just amazed that I was like, man, this is sweet. Who would
Oh
have
yeah.
thought?
Yeah, and my draft night out team now leads with Vidal and Scatabo. I drafted Scatabo, I picked up Vidal. And that league I actually listened because I picked him up cheap when
Yeah,
Harris went down. So I listened in one league, but that was it. There's no better feeling than when you go on Sleeper and you look at the trending players
yeah, and you got them.
and you see red because they're all on your roster. I love doing that. I love seeing that
Yeah,
because it means you were a week or two ahead of everybody else. And that's the big key to waivers is I'll pick up a guy on a speculative pick. For instance, here we are. What are we going into? We're going into week 7, right?
yeah,
I'm already starting to go shopping for, let's say I've got a tight end situation. I've got Kelsey on a lot of teams. He's on
hmm,
bye week 10. So every week now, from week 6 until week 9,
yeah,
every week now, because I don't want to wait until week 10 when it's a necessity.
right.
I don't know what's going to be there.
Hmm,
But every week now, if I've got a quarterback, let's say I only had one quarterback on the roster or one healthy quarterback on the roster at this point, and I got a bye week coming up, 9 or 10,
right.
or even 8, and I haven't addressed it yet. I'm 2 to 3 weeks out covering my bye guys. Now, that doesn't mean that if I pick up, it doesn't mean I'm going to pick up a Noah Fant or a, Higbee or somebody. It means if AJ Barner is there, if Gadsden is there,
Hmm,
if somebody is on waivers that I think will have value come week 10, I fill that position ahead of time
yep.
for my tight ends. Wide receivers, I don't play that game as much. Usually I have enough depth that as long as I don't have injuries, I've got enough depth at running back and wide receiver that can fill those 6
Uh,
slots every week.
those that are listening, week 8 is crazy. 6 teams on
Oh,
by. So get
16.
ready
Yes.
this week.
Yeah, if you've got a week 8 bye situation, you definitely need to patch and fill now. You
Yeah.
can't wait. And what I love to do is to have those guys, if I pick up a guy who had an early bye,
Hmm,
now I've got him. I'm set. And I do that a lot at uh, kicker. I'll
right.
pick up a guy coming off of his bye week. And now
Yeah.
I don't have to think about kicker. If he's on a good team,
Yep.
I don't even have to think about it. I picked up a
The
lot of
Buffalo,
Badgley.
the
Yes.
Buffalo kicker, I'm
Buffalo.
off,
Yeah.
but after he's done, I will slowly try to collect as much as I can of him.
Yeah. Like when I need to replace a kicker, like I've got Badgley now from
Yeah.
Indianapolis. When he
Yeah.
goes on by, I'll pick up the kicker that I pick up will be from a really good team, from a really good offensive team,
Yep.
and somebody who's already had his bye.
Yep.
Now I'm all set.
Yep.
I could swap them out later if I need to, but I'm set. Use waivers in a smart way, folks.
Yep.
If there's a next man up running back that is available
Hmm,
and it's on a good offense, like if that offense is producing at an 80 or more MVP right now with
hmm,
their running back, with their starting running back, I want the backup
yep.
because the backup is at the least going to be a flex play potential. And so, I don't wait until most often don't wait until it's a necessity. If again, I spent a lot on Kamani Vidal that I shouldn't have because the week before I said pick him up for $1. And boy, it only lasted 1 week. And usually you get more than 1 week,
Yep.
before you're in that situation. But this was a unique one. But again, but don't worry about spending that fab money, Professor, because once
Yeah.
you're past week 7, 8, as long as you got $100 still in the bin that you can cover all your defensive and
Kickers
kicker
and
swaps,
defense. Yeah.
you're fine.
Uh, and moving with waiver, I have a waiver question for you. Uh, Talk me through Tampa Bay wide receivers.
Oh
Your
boy.
own Tez, but
Yes.
other
Yeah.
people have mentioned the other guy.
Yes. Yeah. And here's a situation where I'll play either Johnson. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not as likely to go to Sterling Shepard. He's like the last guy that I would grab out of that bunch. I like Tez Johnson because I think he's going to be playing the slot.
So you like him
Yeah.
twice over the what's the guy's name?
It's another Johnson.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
forgot.
can't think offhand.
Let's see. I'll find
We're
it.
down to the sixth guy on the team, folks.
It is
Even
yeah, let's see. I can't think of what
it's
his
with a K. It's with
yeah,
a K.
Cameron Johnson.
Cameron Johnson. Yeah, I get
So
confused.
how
I,
much would you
I
so you're like 10 for Tez and 2 for Cameron, or are you 10 and 10? I'm trying to get, what are you
so
thinking?
so they're only stopgap measures. Okay, so I'm only bidding on either one of those guys if I need to fill a slot this week
Yeah.
because I don't think Egbuka is going to be out for very long. I think he'll be back quicker
Now,
than we think.
Tez was getting a little active. Let's just say if Godwin is out 2, 3 weeks, does that seems to make Tez as a potential spike guy that might surprise us for 10 points
Yeah,
if Abuka's
yeah,
back.
yeah. I think that's a definite possibility. I think that's a definite
So
possibility.
if that,
think
yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
Tez has uh, more value even when Egbuka gets back.
Right.
So I think Egbuka, obviously, him being out opens up Cameron Johnson to being a thing.
What
I
about
mean,
Butte over Tez? Which one?
I like
Kayshawn.
I like Keishawn Butte better.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Now I like Tampa's passing game better,
yeah,
but I like Butte could be that. Remember,
yeah. I
all
remember.
season all season long, I've been saying
Yeah,
you don't mind having whoever the lead wide receiver for the Patriots will be. You
yeah.
want to have that lead wide receiver. I don't think we know who that lead wide receiver
I
is
don't
yet.
think they know yet.
They don't know. It goes back and forth each week. But here's the thing: is the worst weeks of Boutte have not been bad. Like you're, yeah, I know you want 12, 15 points a game out of guys, right? That's
Right,
what you ideally we want 12 plus. And
right,
so if we don't get 12 plus, we're unhappy, right?
right.
He has had 2 bad weeks where he
Yes,
was 4.8 and 2.8.
right.
His other weeks, if you had to plug and play a guy on an emergency basis and he got 7 or 8 points for you, that is not killing your team.
Right.
But I like Butte's upside because he's an improving second year player. And what did we just get done showing in the pre-show? You got to show off a lot of data that
Yep.
says wide receivers get a lot better between year 1 and year 2.
Yes, they do.
Is Butte there yet where you want him? Of course not. He's not consistent from week to week because we don't know who the lead guy is going to be any given week with the Patriots. It has changed. And sometimes the answer has been Hunter Henry. So that's the other part that makes it tough. But Diggs is getting up in years. He's had issues in the past where he's missed a game or two. So, and he's not exactly burning it up this year either. His MVP for this season, his MVP index for just this season is 67. So it's not like he is blazing it up either.
Right.
And yeah, Boutte is a little bit less. He's at a 17 for his MVP this year. So he's not a sure bet to be a consistent 10, 12 point guy. But what he is he's like, I'm going to give you 5 or 6, or I'm going to give you 18 or 20. And those guys, if you're plugging and playing, because here's the thing, if you're plugging and playing for Boutte, you're probably plugging and playing on a week that he's got a good defensive matchup, right?
Right.
Otherwise, you're not looking at him. Or I've got him on a lot of rosters, and I've played the defensive matchup because here's the reality. So he's faced 2 really tough defenses. Those were his 4.8 and his 2.8 games. He had 2 tough but not really tough defenses. Those are the weeks he scored 8-6 and 7-3. He had 2 weak defenses against the pass, 16 and 26.
Yep.
So if I've got him, like the next 2 weeks, he got Tennessee and Cleveland. Cleveland's rush defense is fabulous. Their pass defense is not at the top. But if I got Tennessee this week with all the disarray with the coach leaving and everything else, the coach getting fired, I'm leaning into Boutte this week and feeling pretty good about it. Versus Tampa, they got that Detroit defense, which Detroit can give up a lot of yards because they just score so damn quick that they put the defense back on the field. So it's not like I think Tampa's going to be shut out this week. But, you got the Vegas numbers up. Vegas says they're going to score 21.5.
3 touchdowns.
Vegas says New England's scoring 28. I want Boutte versus either of the Johnsons in Tampa because I don't know which Johnson or if Sterling Shepard is going to be the guy, or maybe they split it and maybe Otten picks up the pace because Detroit is awful against tight ends.
Right.
So that's the decision. I've got a lot of Boutte on my roster as my 5th wide receiver, and he doesn't come off the bench unless it's a good matchup for him. So this week I'll probably spot play him a little bit. In deeper leagues, I play him all the time, but for the matchups, I got a couple of guillotine leagues that I'm putting him in this week because
did you survive?
I did. I survived with ease. Yeah, I just needed 7 points out of Debo and Cook. That was it. When you only need 7 points between 2 guys, you figure they can split 3.5 apiece and you can get in. But, that was the team that lost Egbuka.
Yeah. So
I had Egbuka on that team and, it was miserable. So, but, now I've got, I'll have to plug and play. I did not get Amon-Ra St. Brown in waivers, though. He was on the team that got cut. I bid heavy for him, but somebody bid the whole enchilada to get him.
Wow.
So yeah. So here's the thing is I've got a good solid team in all 3 of my guillotine leagues right now.
Yeah.
I have not spent much of my fab money at all.
Yeah.
So down the stretch, I will be able to pick up the really good players that come available because each week
gets a little harder,
gets better on waivers because the teams that are losing at this point are built better than the early season teams. Early season teams might have had 1 good player and the rest of them you're looking and going, God, I can't even replace a bench guy with that guy.
Yeah.
But, and I was smart because I picked up Vidal in a couple of those leagues just as a bench player. I've got my bench in a guillotine league. My bench is almost exclusively next man up running backs. Some of them to my guillotine starter, but most of them are whoever. So I had a lot of Scatabo. Just you got to draft a little bit different in those guillotine leagues because there will be stuff available that you can plug and play at wide receiver and tight end. I usually like to have two good quarterbacks that I can rotate around because you don't want to get stuck. Like you don't want to be the one in an 18-team league who gets their quarterback hurt week 1 and week 2 you're having to scrounge because you can't find anything. I like to have two quarterbacks and then deal with, if I get an injury, then if I get multiple injuries, then I'm going to get knocked out. But so far, so good in all 3 of the Guillotine League teams. And I'm considered in the safe zone by over 70% for the forecast this week for all 3 teams. Doesn't mean I won't be in the danger zone at some point during the weekend, but I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Nice.
All right, Professor.
Let's wind this down.
So many injuries this week. It's going to be tough. You got Garrett Wilson, Igbuka, and Nakua to replace, and I've got teams that had all 3.
And supposedly Evans and CD may be coming back. Have you heard those things?
CD Lamb, I think, is going to be back.
What about Evans? Don't you think they got to push him?
Do they? Here's the thing. You bring him back against Detroit.
It's not an easy situation.
You're not favored to win this game.
No, okay. You're not. And it is at Detroit.
And you've got a good, strong record already. Okay. If they were a 500 club right now, then it's like, oh yeah. Hey, Mike, can you give us can you play on one leg even? Can you give us anything? But with them in the driver's seat, sort of in the division, they're sitting there. They're a playoff team. They can lose a couple and they're still going to be in playoff. They're likely to be a playoff team.
Yeah.
No matter what. I think they got to look long picture here and not rush him back. But CeeDee Lamb, I think, will be back this week.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I think he'll be back. And of course, I'm getting Rashee Rice back everywhere, which helps some of these teams. I had a team, Professor, where I had Wilson, Igbuka, Nakua, and Rice.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah. So those were my 4. I couldn't believe that I could get that much talent at wide receiver. And of course, now I got 3 of them hurt, but hopefully getting back some key players this week. All right. Thursday night football.
Before we go, let me go through the landscape. We got 2 kick butt Husky games. Oof. We'll talk about Saturday. Look at that, 55-53. 55 maybe 0.5, maybe the highest of the season so far.
Wow.
They just think Washington and Dallas is going to be a pass fest. So we need McLaurin back.
Yes, we do.
And so we'll see what it's all about. And Detroit and Tampa Bay are thought to be a high-flying game. Got 4 sad games, not the worst, in the 40s, low 40.5. And Cleveland is favored over Miami. So what do you think about that? I know we'll maybe talk about that.
Yeah.
Saturday.
Isn't
that weird?
That is weird.
Yeah.
That is weird. Boy, that's tough.
Yeah.
It's a tough game.
Well, we got to do our pick 'em, and I've been flipping between those 2. This is the hardest one for me to pick this week. I mean, there's some tough ones, but this one, Dennis, it might be a coin flip. I mean, I know Vegas seems to say Cleveland I just don't know.
So I think that's
Waddle
yeah,
and
yeah,
Waller, I mean, I,
yeah. We're gonna use that'll be a game that we look at Saturday,
yeah,
and
I know. I
we'll
know.
break
I
that
just wanted to
down because I'm worried.
say,
So here's one thing. I'm my first reflection of this chart here, looking at the points.
mhm,
I think they got Detroit Tampa Bay game wrong.
yeah.
I I think that should be the game, the highest scoring game of the week.
Hmm.
And I know that it would be unusual to have an over under any higher. Like 53 is a pretty big number, right?
Yeah, we're talking 55, 56 for the
I,
Washington Dallas.
I won't be shocked to see 60 points in that game.
It's crazy.
Maybe 65. Like,
Yeah.
and I know they wouldn't put an over under, this isn't college football, but I'm kind of thinking that when I was thinking that game ahead of
Mhm,
time, before I
mhm.
saw the odds, I was thinking that should be a 55, 56 over under. Easy. And
Right.
I still would go over. So that's going to be a juicy game. I wonder if they're downgrading Tampa because of all the injuries.
I think so.
But I think Baker could have you and I at wide receiver and still find a way to make it work.
Oh,
That man
wow.
is a magician. I'm
But
telling you.
just, but just, here's my power rankings for the week. You always love those.
My dog is laughing at my comment, by the way. She
Yeah, I
says,
bet
"You're
he
so
is.
damn old. You're so
Yeah.
damn old. You can't chase anything."
Phillies, Detroit, KC are 1, 2, 3.
Woohoo! Look
So
at
there you
Kansas
go.
City back up towards the
Yeah,
top.
yeah. Tennessee, Raiders, Jets at the bottom, Arizona at the bottom. So it's been kind of sad up there for some of those teams, but
Tennessee's so bad right now that
mhm.
I think Tennessee and the Jets are so bad right now. They're just glad that there's no relegation
Yeah,
in like there is
no
in
give up rule.
British soccer because they'd be heading to the minor leagues.
Yeah,
They're in really bad shape, both teams right now.
yeah. I hear
I'm
you.
I'm intrigued to see Seattle that far up in the rankings.
Seattle has been pretty good. Is
Oh
that
yeah, yeah. No
and
running game, but they're getting the passing game like crazy.
yeah, and Barner and JSN have been a 1-2 punch there.
But here's the thing: I'm going to warn you about Seattle this week. I'm worried about the weather. That's the only weather game I'm worried about.
Hmm.
And with Seattle leaning into that passing game so much,
Mhm.
they might be harmed more by the rain than Houston is.
Mhm.
And Houston's defense is better than a
Mhm.
lot of folks think. So I'm a little worried about that game. I'll give you the heads up on that one. But I
Yeah.
respect the power rankings, so
Mhm.
much.
And here's efficiency if people are interested. This is last 6 weeks. So Atlanta, you probably think they're so bad on the road that
Yes.
hasn't balanced out
Yes.
their home. They're crazy. They're very crazy team. I still don't understand it. I should have in my pick 'em. I don't. I, I've got to. I don't know why that is. I can't think logically why a team has such a strange split. I
Young
don't know.
quarterback doesn't help.
No, no.
It's very quiet at home for a young quarterback when
Yeah, I
he's throwing
know.
on
I
the
don't.
road.
I don't
Whole
know.
different world. Whole
Yeah,
different world.
it is. We've got Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, 27-16
I was
Thursday night.
I
Yeah,
was waiting to see this data before I make my pick. That's
yeah.
how
Well,
close this game
I'll
is.
I'll cut to the chase. Play them all.
Oh yeah.
Look at the dApps,
Yeah.
and you definitely want Pittsburgh as your streamer. I wouldn't play Cincinnati, but it's 43, so the dApps and with Flacco, I mean, it seems like it has a chance of being over. I mean, I'm probably not betting that, but it Cincinnati might surprise just because Pittsburgh has been so sucky. Cincinnati is, yeah, 77. Pittsburgh has been really good the last 6 weeks, 98. Cincinnati loves home, Dennis. 47% better at home.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh loves away. 36% positive being away. That's another strange split. Cincinnati at home, it's all about the pass. I think Flacco knows the assignment. Higgins Chase, what are you doing? But they've been declining because looking at the last 3 weeks, that's what that's saying. But in the next 3 weeks, we'll see. I don't think it'll be declining. Pittsburgh away is run and pass much less, 30% less.
Wow.
So be aware of that in the
Wow.
passing. Yeah, isn't that weird?
That is very weird.
As far as the attempts, right? So,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
this is what it's not points,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
This is
Right.
just, I'm just trying to get opportunity. And
Hmm.
the passing attempts are going to be less. So it looks like Cincinnati is going to be really all about that. And poor Chase Brown, I just don't, it's hard to see him having anything different in this game versus what's gone on before. It's been really strange. He's a weird running back this year. I know a lot of people are very disappointed. And I know Dennis is one of
Me
those.
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's really strange. So, Dennis, it looks like Cincinnati passing and Pittsburgh wants to shift and lean into the run. And I guess they have who Tyler Warren. I mean, what's the guy's name
Yeah.
that's
Jalen
coming?
Warren.
Jalen.
Jalen
Yeah,
Warren. Yep.
yeah. So uh, I got him on one team, picked him up off waivers. Somebody dropped him when he was injured, and I just Dennis, I hide in the weeds, and if somebody's foolish, I'm gonna reach out
Oh,
there and
yeah.
grab it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I didn't draft any of him. Now I have one share. So I'm just hoping lots of other people get crazy and start dropping key players here. But I'm ready. I can't drop. People won't be dropping Vidal because I got them all. That makes me feel so good. I didn't even know I had 35 shares out of my 37 teams. And see
Yeah.
that counted our three superflex best ball too. So
Very
wish
good.
yeah, wish we'd we're number one in one of them still. I don't know if you checked
Yeah.
after
Oh, yeah.
6 weeks, we're
Yeah.
number
Uh,
one.
I
Hey,
I think we did very well. Uh, the reasons behind our other, like, all of our teams are doing well. All of
yeah,
those best ball
but
ones.
we need a 1-2 to move on.
Oh yeah, 1-2 is what it is.
We
So you
get
need to
some
be up
money and
there.
then we
Yep.
up there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're off to a good start in those leagues. I liked at the time of the draft, I was very pleased with all three teams. I thought our process was sound in how
Mhm.
we attacked those teams this year. And, injuries are going to hurt you in best ball because you never
Right.
get a chance to replace anybody. But, you know, that's the luck of the draw part of best ball, but in that format. But yeah, I thought we had good strategy. We had some great late picks, is all I'm going to say. And I think that'll be the key to how some of this pans out.
Anyway, getting
This,
back to
yeah,
Thursday, it looks
yeah,
like Cincinnati can't stop anything.
no,
And so Pittsburgh, I think Pitt wants to jump out and rush and shut the game, shorten the game. Cincinnati, Flacco knows what he needs to do.
yeah,
So I'm probably still going to play Higgins where I need to play him. Okay. I'm not going to force him in, but if I need in a second flex and he's going to get my attention. Uh, this week just
Yeah.
because of Flacco, just
Yes.
peppering him with targets. I need opportunities.
Well, remember this time last week, I was very honest. And I said, I did not know whether Flacco, how in fantasy football terms, I didn't know if Flacco would be better, worse, or the same for things. 20 of his passes went as targets to Higgins and Jamar Chase.
Yep. That's
He
what they told him to
showed
do.
he showed that he understands the game. Now, I was also told by people though that this was great news for Chase Brown. And I did not see that because the Chase Brown situation, I think, is mainly the offensive line is the worst I've seen for an offensive line. Because when you make first contact more than a yard and a half into the backfield,
Yeah,
which is
that's
what
not
he's
good.
seeing in his stats, that's not a running back's problem. That is and that's not a scheme problem. That's a line that really is bad.
Yep.
But Flacco better for the wide receivers. And,
Yep.
He's going to get the ball out.
Right.
So here's the thing, even though Pittsburgh and Cincinnati's defense have been giving up a lot of points,
Yep.
both of them have a decent pass rush.
Yep.
So I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this one. I like that until I saw your scaled efficiency. And I'm going to show or kind of explain to folks how I use this. If a team is over 70 in scaled efficiency, I'm fine with them. Like, especially if it's a situation like Cincinnati where two of these three games
Yeah.
were with the really bad quarterback because Browning was awful.
Well, it includes the Burrows and the Flacco.
So it's got two good games.
And
One
Flacco
from
wasn't
Burrow
bad.
Burrow and Flacco, and then it's got the Browning effect, and that so it's going to affect it. But over 70, that's a competent offense. I'm okay with that. Like, I get worried
It's surprising.
I get worried when I see numbers under 50, and then especially
Well, it's measuring points scored on the scoreboard, yards score or accumulated per second. So the pace of scoring and getting yards. So that's what it measures. So there's some speed aspects that a lot of people, kind of miss, but I think I want opportunities fast. And I think that metric gets us into that arena. And I really haven't seen I'm sure there's metrics out there, Dennis, but like I said, I don't know who's got them or doesn't, but that's what it tells me is there's a lot of speed and a lot of points and yards going to be generated. And I probably need to do a study looking at the combined efficiency versus the over under, Dennis.
Oh, yeah.
For our betting stuff. I just really, by the time I do all the other stuff and we got the posters, but I'll get a jump on it this year. I didn't get to do everything I needed to do. Like the age study should have been done this summer. And I uh, yeah, I need interns, ESPN. So what the hell you waiting for?
So I'm going to take Cincinnati in this game for the upset. And I'm going to
Are you
play
going to play them Cincinnati? You pick them.
I'm going to play Cincinnati in my pick 'em, and I'm taking the over.
My God.
I'm taking the over in this game
I
as
like
well.
the over. I just don't know.
Yeah. If this was not a Thursday night game, I'd like the over even more.
You see, Thursday is so wacky.
Thursdays can be wacky, but there's no weather. Okay. Beautiful. It's like going to be a perfect fall evening. Probably game time temperatures mid to upper 60s, right around there in Cincinnati. It's going to be beautiful. The fact that Pittsburgh has such the home away split right now is very interesting to me. But the fact that Cincinnati's efficiency is 77, that's to me, that's huge. Like they've survived. So as far as playing players, spot your Chase,
I mean, you got to play Chase Brown if you don't
you,
have any other choice.
yeah, you got to spot him though. You got to find a reason. There has to be a reason to take him out of your lineup. Even
Yeah.
as bad as he's been, he's at least an 8-point guy on the volume he's getting. He only had 2 passes to him with Flacco, who's usually a check down king. So,
Yeah.
that was one game. Maybe he'll get more check down opportunities.
I'm sure they're telling him, I said,
Yeah,
okay, you got the assignment with Chase and Higgins. Now expand.
yeah, and I think I wouldn't even be afraid if I had to sub in a quarterback.
And I'm
If I
looking
was
at
desperate,
Noah
I'd
Fant. Don't they have him as a tight end?
yeah, they got Fant now. Gasecki's out, so you're not going to get as
So
much of the split. Fant's not a bad play
I'm
on
just
the
saying if you got to have,
if you
if you've
got to.
got Kincaid on
Yes,
bye
yes, yeah.
or Andrews on bye,
He's not a
Fant
bad. Yeah,
Fant can get you maybe 6 to 10 points. In a tight end premium, probably 8 to 12,
yeah.
which is enough to keep you in the game.
I think he's a good play. I do not like playing any of the tight ends with Pittsburgh because they're playing all 4 of them,
No.
and you just don't know which one's going to be the guy.
Mhm.
It's DK Metcalf and it's Jalen Warren and Rodgers. That's all you're playing. You're not even thinking past that with Pittsburgh, especially on the road.
I mean, DK should have an opportunity to score again.
DK is being treated. Are we sure that DK Metcalf was never like? Did he show up for a workout in Green Bay before the draft?
I
I mean,
don't know.
there's got to be some tie-in because Rodgers loves this guy already.
Yeah.
He's feeding him. Remember last week at this time I said Roman Wilson was worth a speculative dollar.
Yeah.
No, no. With Calvin Austin out, the answer is they're going to play 27 tight ends. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna have tight ends everywhere.
Yeah.
It's if Arthur Smith could figure out a way to have 15 tight ends in the
He
game
would.
legally, he would. It's just crazy how he's utilizing that position. So DK Metcalf, Jalen Warren, that's it. Gainwell is not a bad plug and play because he's getting a lot of third down work,
Yeah.
which is interesting because like that used to be Jalen Warren's strength was passing plays. So the fact that they're bringing Gainwell in tells me that they really like this kid. And when they signed him as a free agent, I knew they had an idea for how to use him. So
Yeah.
I have Gainwell in a few deep leagues where in best ball because I was like, they signed this guy for some reason,
Yeah.
But in the rookie running back situation with Pittsburgh continues to totally confuse me. But yeah, I'm going to take Cincinnati for the upset here.
Okay.
The more I look at it, the more I'm convinced.
I hope you get what you want. I'm probably taking Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I need to gain some ground on you anyway. So
Yes, you do.
I
This
need
is
to
an opportunity.
I need to be a little bit of a contrarian when I can pick my spot. So head on over to the Science of Fantasy Football.com. The professor's always got some interesting data for you to look at. I've got a couple of articles up there as well. Head over to the sports affiliation and hey, check out our sister podcast coming. It'll be out. We're going to be recording on Friday this week, not Saturday.
Well, hopefully it'll be out a little bit
So
sooner.
we'll get
We'll
that
try.
out. We'll get that out on time. And uh, so much research going on. You certainly want to come back here next week for another edition of the Science of Fantasy Football.
Get to work, folks. Okay.
All right. Well, that was good, man. We brought the energy today.
Hmm.
So
I'm good.
I'm that game is intriguing Thursday
I
night.
can tell
Like
you're excited about a
there's
Thursday game.
I'm
I'm like, bleh.
yeah, Thursdays are usually I'm like,
I'm
ugh,
surprised. Why don't they just send them all to Europe? Just do a Thursday in Europe. That way, just really gum up the works.
screw everything up.
Like I said, eventually they'll be playing on an aircraft carrier in the ocean. So, just to traveling, they just have a fleet of carriers, Dennis,
Oh, if
and they'll just, yeah,
they can
you
make
know,
money off of it. So next year
yeah.
there's going to be a game in Australia
Of
next year.
course,
Okay, so I don't even know how the logistics for that are handled because it's a long enough flight over to
yeah,
Europe. It's tremendously long to go down to Australia, but it's going to be a sight because that place that they're going to be playing at
yeah.
holds 100,000 people.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, yeah. They just had the finals a couple weeks ago. It was the last Saturday of the month of September is the footy finals. So the three games that they played at
Yeah,
that stadium the week before were the semifinals, and
yeah.
then the final, they call it the grand final. Um, they had 300,000 people in attendance for those three games.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
100,000
crazy.
people to see Australian rules football. So
That's
they're going to pack 100,000 in to see uh, whoever is the chosen teams. I don't know who it. I think thought the Chargers were one of the teams, but I
Yeah,
don't
the
know who
West
else is going
Coast
to go.
team, that probably makes sense.
Yeah, it's still a 13-hour flight from LA, so it's or
Well, they ought to
14
stop
hours.
in Hawaii and play a game or two and then,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Maybe Fiji on the way
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
too, and
Maybe an island
that's
hop.
maybe you're right. Maybe they just build this big NFL football cruise ship,
Yeah, you just play on the cruise
and
ship.
you have you fly guys out and drop them by helicopter onto the
Fly
deck
bid.
and
Yeah,
let them play on their way to Australia.
yeah. I
Oh
like
my
it.
goodness,
My
yeah.
goodness, indeed. Well, let me shut this down.